call tonight's meeting of the City Council of the City of Casa Grande to order. And this evening, if Matt, would you mind doing us the honors and the invocation, and then we'll stay standing for the pledge. And Lisa, I'll lead us in the pledge, if that's okay.
Of course.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you come to our meeting tonight and watch over us. Guide us and give us the wisdom to make good decisions tonight that's the best for our community. We ask, Father, that you watch over our first responders here in our city, all over the world, those protecting our freedoms. We come to you tonight, Father, asking for a very special blessing for the world with everything going on with the pandemic and the problems that's causing, and know that you'll be watching over us and help us to get through this time. And also for our country, with all the divide that's going on, we really ask that you help people and give them the wisdom to see that we're all together in this and that we're all Americans. And we ask all of these things in your name tonight, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, let the roll call show that all members or all council members are present. Lisa is present via phone.
Mayor McFarland, I would like to move for approval of the City Council regular meeting minutes from the June 15th, 2020, and to accept for the record the Board of Adjustment minutes from March 10th, 2020, as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Next item is item D, claims against the city. Anyone?
Mayor McFarland, I move for approval of the claims against the city for June 10th through June 30th, 2020.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the claims of June 10th through June 30. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Meeting agenda approval. Larry, any staff changes to the tonight's agenda? Anyone else? Any other city council members? Lisa?
No, not for me.
Okay. Seeing none, then I'll take a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's meeting agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. The next item on our agenda, we do have a couple special presentations tonight. If I can ask the first special presentation, Mr. Scott Miller, would you please come to the podium? Hi, Chief.
Good evening.
I know we're keeping you. Sorry.
That's all right.
We should have put you at the end of the whole thing.
Not his first.
I did take you first since you have rank. Although I don't know.
It does.
40 years, 20 years. So tonight we're honoring Chief Scott Miller, who's retiring from the city after 20 years of service. Chief Miller started his time with the city on April 17th, 2000. And if you think back to Casa Grande's population being just under 27,000 people in 2000, you can begin to appreciate the growth that's taken place in the community during Scott's tenure, and also the growth in our fire department as well. He's been active in multiple service organizations and associations, serving at various levels of leadership. Scott has also been recognized for his work a number of times, including most recently when he received the prestigious Allen V. Bruncini? Brunacini, all right. Chief Fire Officer of the Year Award in this past year in 2019. So again, congratulations. Chief Miller's dedication, commitment, and hard work has given us an outstanding fire department that's being passed on to new leadership. And on behalf of the City Council, the city staff, and the citizens of our community, we wish him the very best in the future. And thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for all your keeping the department in your hands and guiding them through. We've been a source of pride for our community, very definitely.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
So, this says Scott Miller for 20 years of outstanding service to the city of Casa Grande, April 17, 2000 to June 30, 2020. We are working into your time.
Mary, can you grab it up? Oh, let me take another one. Oh.
Our masks on.
Yeah. We can tell Scott's smiling.
It'll be interesting in the future to see if they wonder who are those people with the mask on in the picture.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Please give Scott another round of applause, would you? Actually, now I'd like to call Mr. Rod Wood to come forward, please. Tonight we are saying goodbye to the longest tenured employee in the city of Casa Grande, Rod Wood. Rod, amazing. How you stayed so long, I have no idea. Rod's career spanned more than 4 decades, beginning in November 1979 as a swimming pool caretaker. He moved upward through the positions of recreation supervisor, parks supervisor, and to parks superintendent in 1986. Rod's expertise and his hard work and dedication has been formally recognized a number of times over the years, including being honored as the Parks Professional of the Year by the Arizona Parks and Recreation Association in 2013. So on behalf of the City Council, staff, and the citizens of Casa Grande, we wish him well as he opens a new chapter in his life, and we honor you, Rod, as a true public servant. So thank you.
Thank you.
This says, for 40 years of outstanding service to the city of Casa Grande, November 26, 1979 to July 10, 2020.
Yep. Got it.
Mayor, turn around so his daughter can grab one too. please.
Oh.
Amanda,
Rod, you're not going to start a lawn service, are you? Thank you for all you done.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Rod.
You know, when I retired about 4 years ago, they asked me the same question. I said the same. I had the same answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Well, again, congratulations to you, Chief, and to you, Rod. Thank you for all the hard work and dedication you've given to the city of Casa Grande and to our citizens and staff, and we really can't thank you enough. So thank you again, both. All right, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda items. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Does anybody have anything that they want to take off? Staff? Okay, seeing none, then I'll,
Move approval as presented.
okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda items. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Quartson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, due to our current situation with the COVID-19, we will forego the public comments tonight. Hopefully at some point in time here in the next near future, we'll get back to the normal process. All right, let's go to award of contracts. We'll start with I-1. Consider ordinance number 3206. Mr. Raines?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, tonight staff is asking the mayor and council to consider an ordinance approving a municipal effluent purchase agreement with Nacero Casa Grande LLC and authorizing execution of the agreement by the city manager. Following the announcement by Nacero Casa Grande LLC of their decision to select Casa Grande as the proposed project site, staff has been involved in negotiating proposed effluent purchase agreement for the purpose of using the city's long-term storage credits and effluent for Nacero's use in producing a new gasoline. Nacero's Casa Grande LLC would utilize new technology to produce a newer, cleaner, zero sulfur gasoline from natural gas and has a lower carbon emission in production. It could lower tailpipe emissions and is usable in today's cars and trucks without modification. Gasoline is one of the largest consumer products in the United States. Nacero Casa Grande LLC intends to build a $3 billion plant in Casa Grande, creating over 2,000 construction jobs during a 4-year build time and creating 200 new operating jobs after completion and producing 35,000 barrels of gasoline per day. The state-of-the-art manufacturing process will make 80% of their water it requires in production. This proposed effluent agreement will provide the other 20% of the water needed for production, allowing beneficial reuse of treated water instead of reliance on groundwater for the project needs. Nacero also intends to utilize solar power to meet its peak electric demand. The construction of the Nacero facility in Casa Grande is expected to produce significant benefits to the local economy of Casa Grande and Pinal County. Economic forecasts estimate the project will generate an average annual increase of $29.3 million in gross domestic product in our county over the 5-year construction period. It may also produce an average of $104.4 million in additional disposable personal income in the same time frame. The annual average gross domestic product increase to Casa Grande and Pinal County once production commences is anticipated to be approximately $120.5 million in gross domestic product and $40.8 million in disposable personal income. The proposed municipal effluent agreement that the mayor and council will be considering tonight includes the following key provisions: that the city would make 1,000 acre-feet of effluent per year available to Nacero through a combination of long-term storage credits and direct delivery of effluent. Nacero may utilize these effluent credits by permitting, developing, and operating recovery wells on or near the site pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 45-834.01. Nacero shall not resell any unused effluence credits that are purchased from the city. The initial base price of the credits to Nacero will be $300 per acre foot, and the price will be adjusted annually by a consumer price index and will be reset every 7 years through a process of evaluating the current market for effluent within the Pinal AMA and establishing a new price for the preceding 7 years. Nacero will design and construct a direct delivery line from the city's wastewater treatment plant to the site for direct delivery purposes. This infrastructure will be dedicated to and operated by the city. The city can request the infrastructure be upsized to serve future users. Nacero will pay the city for operational and replacement costs associated with this direct delivery system on and above the base rate of the effluent. The term of the agreement is 75 years. If the Nacero property is not annexed into the city limits by December 31st, 2021, the agreement will terminate on December 31st, 2023. And if Nacero Casa Grande plant permanently ceases business operations for a period of 5 years, the agreement may be terminated by the city at that time. It should be noted that Nacero and city staff continue to meet to finalize agreements related to the annexation and development of this sizable project. Once these agreements have been negotiated, they will make their way through the appropriate process for your consideration. The economic impact of the Nacero Casa Grande LLC project are obviously significant. The city anticipates receiving up to $300,000 a year in annual revenue from the sale of the municipal effluent. This will increase annually by the consumer price index, and this revenue stream will potentially increase as the price is reset every 7 years. While the annual cost of operating and maintaining the direct delivery line is nominal, Nacero will be responsible for reimbursing the city for their share of the costs associated with that direct delivery line. And with that, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, staff is recommending that the mayor and council adopt an ordinance approving the municipal effluent agreement with Nacero Casa Grande LLC and authorizing the city manager to execute the final agreement. And Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I guess just one additional item that I'd like to add is that from my perspective, and I think our team, both Mr. Wallace and Mr. Weaver would agree that regarding the negotiations with the Nacero team, they've been very professional, and I wish that most agreements were as easily as negotiated as we've experienced with both Tom and Hal and their team. We do have Tom Tureen, Hal Bucknight, and I believe Michelle Van Quathen on the line this evening. Michelle is their legal counsel. If there's any specific questions for the applicant, but with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? I know we've had many study sessions on this and
Yes.
several executive sessions as well, so.
And Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely right. I was going to mention that there is a sidecar executive session provision or agenda item that's available to the council if you feel that we need to use this, to use that. And we would adjourn now if that is the case. Otherwise, we won't use it, and we can forego it later on this evening.
Lisa, do you have any questions?
No questions, Mayor. I just wanted to just kind of reiterate what Larry mentioned. This has been, just a little bit of a process, and it really has been a pleasure. I know the meetings I've been in with the Nacero team, they've been just so professional and educational. Of course, this is, new to our community, and, I'm honored that they chose our city, and they have been just, pleasant during these negotiations. And Brett and Larry, I know this is, it's been tough, but I feel really good about the agreement, and I just thank everyone for all their hard work in bringing this to our studio.
Thank you, Lisa. Bob?
Just a comment, an agenda item for effluent doesn't sound that exciting, but nonetheless, this project for our community is huge, and we are all very excited about them coming to town and look forward to their success.
Anyone else? Yeah, and I would just add, from myself, I've had many interactions with Tom and his team, and they've all been very professional. I know, Tom, as we move forward, there may be some opportunities that we can work with you on, especially if we're going to be looking at some recharge wells and some other opportunities I think we might want to talk about as you move forward. There may be some joint opportunities there for us, so just keep that in the back of your mind. I know you're on the phone, so I'm just putting a bug in your ear.
Mayor, I agree with what Councilman Huddleston said about the importance and the effect it's going to have on our community, and it's something to really be proud of. You know, used to have we had some hundreds in development to us, and we're talking about billions. I mean, this is unbelievable, and I'm so happy that he found Casa Grande, and I'm so happy our staff worked so well with him. And as you say, he's a very professional person, and so we all look forward to it opening up.
All right. Seeing no other comments, then I will call for the ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Number 3206, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a municipal effluent purchase agreement between the city of Casa Grande and Nacero Casa Grande LLC, and authorizing execution of the municipal effluent purchase agreement by the city manager.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3206 as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next is boards and commissions, J1, and I'm going to pass this over to Mr. Herman. This is an appointment of our youth commission. Unfortunately, and normally they're here, and it's an opportunity to thank them for volunteering, but unfortunately, due to these circumstances, they are not here unless they're hiding outside.
We're at. Thank
Mr.
you,
Herman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 25th of June, we met here with proper social distancing and CDC guidelines with the Youth Commission, part of them, and members and new people that want to interview for the commission. On that night, the student leaders that were on the commission voted, and they make the decision who's going to join their team.
Has left the meeting.
So it's all student-driven, it's all member-driven, and it turned out very great. This has been one of the best years in a long time for applications for some reason. So we had an abundance of applications, so we had a great selection. And we sent letters out to the students, and it said you're being considered. I know some of them are watching because they've texted me, but that you're being considered tonight for approval. So how this process works is that you were selected by the commission, and then the council up here, we approve or recommend that you are appointed to the commission. So I will read the members' names for the Casa Grande Youth Commission, and I would be remiss without noting that Ms. Donna McBride to my left was one of the original founders of the Youth Commission from an advisor standpoint. And we also have Carl Montoya, who's an advisor, Kendra Bray, and Crystal Villegas, who were former members of the commission and now volunteer their time, a lot of time, to supervise the commission. It's going to be an interesting year for us, but we're figuring it out as we go, and it's going to be a great year. So with that, the members that were previously on the commission are required each year to reapply. It's not just a given that they are going to be able to continue on the commission. So the ones that reapplied and were selected for reappointment are Renelle Alado, Gracie Anala, Evan Chaparro, Delaney Dickey, Alora Lenahan, Melanie Nagel, and Chloe Torres. New members that were selected this year from the applications in alphabetical order: Anthony Amato, Madison Comu, Ramon Gonzalez, Mia Jackson, Tia Ray Lewis, Emma Maybe, Landon Moglia, Iris Moreno, and Allison Wong. So congratulations to all those. It's going to be a great year, and we look forward, and we will be getting information out to all of you. Very special thank you also to Carla Lang, Deputy City Clerk, who did a lot of the work for us, paperwork, and helping us get organized. It was a great help this year. So pass that along, Gloria, please. Thank
Thank you.
Has left the meeting. Has left the meeting.
So approval of the appointments, so do I need a motion to, or would you like to make the motion,
Would you
Mr.
like to make that?
Herman?
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of the 16 reappointments and new members' appointments that I just read.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Has
opposed?
left the meeting.
All right, well, now congratulations to everybody. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
All right, let's move into our ordinances and resolutions and other matters. Item K, K1 is considering final adoption of ordinance number 1178.403. Gloria?
Mr. Mayor, this appears for a second reading. We have ordinance number 1178.403, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from single-family residential and general business to planned area development on approximately 663 acres of property located generally at the northeast corner of Montgomery Road and Gila Bend Highway, Casa Grande, Arizona.
All right, this is a second read. Reason it's a second read is because it didn't get unanimous vote the first time around at the council. Is there any discussion? Does anyone want to have any discussions or ask any questions on this subject? Okay, seeing none, then I'll call for the ordinance number, please. Or you just did it. Okay, then I need it. She just read it, so I need a motion.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for the passage of ordinance number 1178.403 as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
No.
Councilmember Powell.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Sorry, yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. Move to item K2. Consider ordinance number 3205, accepting a proposal from Motorola Solutions. Police chief is not here, so I'm assuming someone else will be doing it. Ah, hi, chief. Didn't recognize you in the mask.
Good evening, Mayor McFarland, council members. I'm here obviously advocating for the police department. As you know, I brought this Motorola Master Radio project to you back in October of 2019. We issued a purchase order in December of 2019. And as part of that master project, that included year 4 of fire department radios and year 1 of police department radios as we integrate into the new 800 megahertz radio system. Just to kind of get you up to date right now in year 1, with the fire department is now 100% compliant with 800 megahertz radio capability. The police department, we're happy to say now, all sworn police officers have 800 megahertz, which means they can communicate with the Pinal County Sheriff's Department, amongst other agencies. 50 of the patrol vehicles now also enjoy that 800 capability, and within, hopefully at the end of this month, an additional 25 of our older radios will be what we call flashed and brought up where they also will operate at the 800 capability. So we're getting very, very close to having the police department moving in the right direction. What we're bringing to you today is year 2 of radios. Basically, we're looking at 50 new portable radios. Just to kind of put it in perspective, the police department has some older radios. Those radios will no longer be supported by the manufacturer after 2023. So what we're trying to do is purchase radios to get us onto the 800 megahertz radio system, but buy just enough so that we can get onto the system without buying too much, but also accommodate these radios that in 2023 will drop off and no longer be supported. So what we brought you is our year 2 plan for the police department, which is the 50 portable radios and 3 additional mobile radios. Mobile radios now.
Has left the meeting.
Mobile radios now and portable radios, if they fail or they break, it's not like the old days where you take it to your local radio shop and have them fixed. Now, because of all the computerized ingredients in those particular radios, they have to be shipped back to the manufacturer for repair. Right now, Motorola, I believe, is in Plantation, Florida. So if we do have any failures, we have to send them all the way back to Florida, and our turnaround is usually 2 to 3 weeks. So we need to have some redundancy in case a vehicle radio fails, a portable radio fails, so we don't suddenly not have a vehicle out there patrolling. So it is my hope that this is a 4-year program for the police department, but it is my hope because of year 1, and we were able to leverage as that master project so many more radios than we initially anticipated. I'm hoping that there won't be a year 4 for the police department and that we're able to knock this out in 3 years, because as you can see, it's a fairly significant amount of money that we're asking for. But it's my hope that we are going to be able to do this within the 3-year window and complete that particular purchase. We're on track right now. It looks like we will. We're waiting on some frequency licensing from the Federal Communications Commission. We're anticipating that hopefully within the month. We're on schedule to go live with the 800 megahertz radio system no later than October 1st of this year. So we've made some very significant progress, and we're hoping that we keep that steam going and that we're going to move in that direction and that we're integrated by October 1st. So obviously this year 2 purchase is critical for us to reach that goal. Again, not only does it make sure that all police department members who currently have radios have that new 800 capability, but also does provide us with some redundancy to ensure that if we have any interoperability needs or if we have spare radios needed to fill in for ones that are shipped back, that we have that in stock. And I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions? Bob?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm glad you're leading this. You're the perfect guy for it. And on this particular project, not only yes, but heck yes. You know, I think anything we can do to strengthen the public safety communications is good. I did have a question, though. I've noticed lately a system called FirstNet being promoted and getting a lot of attention. Do you know what that is? And
yeah, FirstNet is I believe the federal government awarded AT&T a public safety contract throughout the United States for public safety radio communications. They are starting that process within Arizona as far as cellular phones, phone activity, maybe some data for computers. But as far as anything two-way radio-wise, we're not there yet. Okay. I'm not sure if that's 5 years down the road or maybe less, or if it's going to be longer, and then, you know, what that implication will be for the state, because the state has a lot of 800 megahertz radio systems. We have the Phoenix system, the Mesa, Pinal, PC1 and Pima, Yuma, and DPS all have their own systems. So somewhere down the road, we're either going to look at integrating into a statewide system, or will that statewide system migrate into the national system? I don't know.
okay.
But yes, it is on the horizon, but it's not where it's
Okay.
really out there where we can touch it yet.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Lisa?
No, I'm good, Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no other questions then, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I'll consider ordinance number 32005.
Ordinance number 3205, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Motorola Solutions, Inc. for the purchase of radios and accessories for the city's police department, authorizing the expenditure of public funds and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Motorola Solutions, Inc., in accordance with the terms and conditions submitted to the Arizona State Procurement Office bid list.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 3205 as presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is item K3, resolution number 5249. This is authorizing Larry to receive the CARES Act funds.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I know that we had some level of discussion about the distribution, the potential distribution of the Arizona CARES Act fund. This particular item is to, in fact, accept the money that's being allocated out of the Arizona Governor's Office, who we know has created the Arizona CARES Fund to provide immediate relief to local governments who did not receive the federal funding from the CARES Act. And in fact, that methodology through the Governor's Office, they're actually utilizing the 2019 census data and the same methodology as the Department of Treasury. The amount that would be allocated to the city of Casa Grande based on that formula is $6,731,338. And we talked about the uniqueness here in Arizona is that while in compliance with the federal and the Treasury Department guidance, Arizona CARES funds may only be used to cover costs that were incurred during the period that begins March 1st and ends on December 30th, 2020, and would be specific to payroll expenses, not overtime related to an entity's public health and public safety department for the purposes of this program. Public safety includes police, fire, and 911 communications. And with that, Mr. Mayor, staff is recommending that the mayor and council accept the Arizona CARES Act funding for the payroll expenses related to our public safety departments. And I'd entertain any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Matt?
I have a comment, Mayor. You missed this one. This just shows why it's so important to do the census, because that's what they
there
base
you
this
go.
funding
Good
off of.
point.
No doubt. That's exactly right.
Right, Lisa?
Yeah, and Mayor, and I did want to also thank you and other mayors throughout Arizona in these small communities. I know you guys really advocated for our city, and so I just want to thank you for just pushing that through and not letting up, and signing the letter with all the mayors, and it took a lot to get this. So I'm just truly, truly grateful for everything you guys have all done.
That's why I'm not on the governor's Christmas list anymore.
You're on ours, though, that's what's important.
I think advocate's a pretty not strong enough word for it, polite word for it, right?
Polite, that would be the polite word. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Lisa, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, seeing none, then I'll entertain an ordinance number, please.
It is a resolution. Resolution number
oh,
5249.
sorry, I read the wrong line.
A resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the state of Arizona, acting through the office of the governors for CARES Act funding via the AZ CARES Fund program, authorizing the city manager to accept grant funds from the state of Arizona, acting through the office of the governor, in an amount of up to $6,731,338, and authorizing the city manager to execute a grant agreement, authorizing the city finance director to accept and disperse funds as necessary, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5249 as presented, and also thank you, like Lisa did, for your work in helping get this money distributed finally out of Maricopa County. So,
Yeah. Of the
Second.
state of Maricopa. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for that. We'll move to public meeting, public hearings, and move to item L1. It's a public hearing and considering an ordinance number 3204, designating the Kiwanis field sign as a local historic landmark. Mr. Tice?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this ordinance is a request to designate the Kiwanis field sign as a local historic landmark. This is the sign that we're talking about. The sign is currently located within the Carmignat Park on the backstop for the baseball field.
Okay.
It was historically located, placed on this building. This building was demolished, but the sign was saved and put on the backstop. You might recall that we previously have designated the Cougar Stadium sign as a historic landmark sign within Carmignat Park as well. The general plan sets forth a statement regarding that we should be acknowledging the historic signs within our community and preserving them, as well as the Historic Preservation Ordinance also talks to the preservation of historically significant signs through the Historic Landmark Sign Program. There are actually 6 specific criteria within the ordinance to designate a sign as a historic landmark sign. You can see those on the screen. Staff finds that this particular sign complies with criteria 1, 2, 5, and 6. The Historic Preservation Commission did review this matter, held a public hearing, and voted 6-0 to recommend to City Council that this sign be designated as a local historic sign. That concludes my presentation.
Where is this?
It's on the backstop at Carmignat in the baseball field. I'll
Okay.
show it to you. Do we have?
I drive by it every day,
We had a slide.
but I think it's facing the other way.
It's not a very large sign. There it is.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Next time I'll look harder for it. Mr. Powell?
I just wanted to thank you for bringing that up, because that is a landmark that goes back, way back to the Cotton Kings when they were earlier, and my dad, we moved here in '51, was really involved in Kiwanis. And so he lived across the street from he lived on Orange Drive, so he could walk out the back door, but he always kind of thought that was, since it was Kiwanis, he had something to do with that field, so.
Any other questions or comments by anyone? Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Lisa, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. It is a public hearing. I'll open the floor to the public. If anyone has any comments on this designation, please come forward. Is there anybody outside at all? Well, they should hear it anyway, shouldn't they? Isn't the speaker on out there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll see no one rush to the front then. I'll call for an ordinance number, please.
You mean Marge isn't there?
No.
I'm sure she would be in support of it.
Absolutely.
Ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 3204, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, designating the Kiwanis field sign as a local historic landmark and authorizing the city clerk to record all documents necessary to effectuate this ordinance with Pinal County Recorder's Office.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3204 as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Even as a Rotarian, I vote yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes, like Matt.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, well, congratulations on that. And let's move to item L2. Again, another public hearing. This is consider resolution number 5233, and this is on our CDBG 5-year consolidated plan. Mr.
Mayor,
Tice?
I'm sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to note that it's recommended by department head, fake department head.
Fake department head?
Is what it says on here.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
You need to check your staffs. They're putting out paperwork, Paul.
Okay, good news.
See at the top there?
Yeah. Department head.
Okay. Am I getting a signal here?
Just checking to see if we pay attention.
All right, so actually, this agenda item is two separate plans. One is the 5-year plan, the CDBG 5-year consolidated plan, which really looks at the categories of activities that we would be targeting the expenditure of CDBG funds over the next 5 years. And you can see those on the screen in front of you. All of those fit within the HUD targeted categories that they encourage communities to expend funds in, and all of those would assist low to moderate income families. The second approval would be approval of the annual action plan as to how then we would be spending our CDBG funds for our upcoming fiscal year. And you can see that our allocation this year from HUD was $435,939. That's our CDBG funds. And on the screen is a summary of how those funds would be spent. There was an internal committee that reviewed all the applications that were submitted to be funded by these funds, and that committee ranked the request and in the end funded these requests. So many of these were a continuation of existing organizations that had been funded previously. The amounts, of course, were varied. So you can see these 5 agencies here that are proposed to be funded. Here are some additional larger ticket items with improvements to Rotary Park. I think that's in conjunction with the trailhead for the trail that Parks Department wishes to build along the Santa Cruz. The owner-occupied rehab money, we would probably use that as leverage to allow us to apply for some state home monies and use that as some matching funds. A continuation of our code enforcement officer who's working primarily in the west side, south side, and east side neighborhoods to address blight in those areas. A little bit, some more sidewalks in the west side, and then some planning and administration funds to cover the general fund cost of administering the program. We did receive an additional funding this year with the COVID for another $256,448. That the expenditure of those funds was more restricted to COVID-related activities. And you can see that we have funded four additional programs with that. One with, for Cara, for homeless services, Seeds of Hope, Hot Lunch Food Bank, Boys and Girls Club for childcare, and Dorothy Powell Senior Center for senior meals, and some additional planning and administration funds. So that's the additional COVID funding that was a one-time funding from CDBG. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Bob?
You mentioned the code enforcement officer, and I think you said the continuation of, so that's not a new position?
It was funded under last year.
Uh-huh.
So this would be our second year of it, starting actually today would be
Okay.
our second year.
And is there generally an expectation that we will be able to continue to fund that, either through this program or general fund?
Right now,
I see Larry nodding his head.
It's hard to say how, on the CDBG funding with HUD, it does fluctuate. It's been increasing for us because we're an entitlement city. We believe we would have the funding. It's really the priority, whether or not we prioritize that as one of our highest priorities for the expenditure of these funds.
Okay.
But I think it's been quite successful in addressing blight in the west side. We focused really hard on the west side, and we're moving out a little bit more into the east side.
It's really one of our strategic goals
Yes,
too.
and I do appreciate that. That's why I was asking the question of, is this a one-time thing, or is this something we can continue on?
Anybody else have any other questions? Lisa, do you have anything?
You know what, I do. So on the additional funding, the activities recommended, and you have those four agencies. Is this something? Have you gotten in touch with these agencies to see if for sure they can provide these services? Or I know we do work with most of them already. It looks like it's recommended funding, so it's not approved. But what do you think are they going to be okay with the capacity to execute on these services?
Mayor McFarland, Councilman Fitzgibbons. So I'm filling in for Mary Allen this evening, who oversees and manages this program.
I can answer the question because
Great,
I've been
thank
part
you.
of it.
Great.
Yes, the answer is yes, Lisa. They
Okay.
have all been met with.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, perfect.
Sigh of relief from Paul.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all right. Seeing none then, this is a public hearing, so we'll open the floor to any public who would like to speak on the subject of our CDBG grant funding plan. I miss Mary Allen.
Yeah.
Not that you didn't do a good job. Okay, well, seeing no public, then I will close the public hearing, and we will call for, actually, I think just need a,
Resolution.
it is a resolution, sorry, it was on the other page.
Resolution number 5233, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, adopting the amended public participation plan, community development block grant, 5-year consolidated plan, analysis of impediments to fair housing, and annual action plan for use of CDBG funds.
Mayor McFarland, I move for the adoption of resolution number 5233 as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, item L3, again, another public hearing. This is regarding the fiscal year 2020-2021 final budget and property tax levy for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Per state statute, the mayor and council adopted the tentative budget for the city of Casa Grande on June 15th, 2020. At that meeting, the mayor and council were presented with detailed information on the 2021 budget. In compliance with Title 42 of the Arizona Revised Statute, the tentative budget was published twice in the local paper and a public hearing, and this public hearing was advertised as scheduled for tonight as part of the regular council meeting. The final budget represents all information that has been presented to the council to date. State law requires that the council hold a special meeting to adopt the final budget. Approval of this resolution will adopt the final budget in the amount of $204.8 million for the city of Casa Grande for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. Following this public hearing, the city will hold a special meeting to adopt the final budget. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? So there's no vote on this because we're going to vote in the next special session. So this is just for discussion and public hearing. All right, so if there's no question from the council, then I'll open the floor to the public.
What'd you do with them?
Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public hearing, and we will then, actually, we can adjourn, correct, Mr. Raines? I think that's all we have on tonight's meeting. All right, so I will adjourn tonight's regular city council meeting, and don't go anywhere. And I will call to order tonight's special meeting of the Casa Grande City Council on this Monday, July 6th. Let the roll call show that everyone is present. Ms. Fitzgibbons is on the phone. The new business item is C1, which is considering a resolution number 5250, which is adopting the budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021. Anybody have any questions on it? Any comments? I think staff did a great job on it and wanted to thank them all. Our new finance director stepping in. Can't see it behind the podium. So if there are no questions and or comments, then I will entertain a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5250, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2021.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for the passage of resolution number 5250 as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, the budget for next year is approved and everybody can get paid. The next item on the agenda is reports. So, Lisa, since you're on the phone, I'll start with you.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm sure you guys read in the paper, and many of you know about that the police department is offering called Phone Patrol. And I'll tell you, I was just so impressed by this story and what Wendy Lloyd and her volunteers are doing, on offering basically this lifeline to our elderly population during these, difficult times. There's many elderly people that don't have anyone. Family members may be far away, or people can't come in, and I was just so impressed by the story, and I had heard about it, but when I read the story, it just I don't know. I mean, it just had a special place in my heart because I know I have a dad that I'm an 84-year-old father and an 89-year-old mother-in-law that we're limited on seeing them because of everything going on with coronavirus. So it just made me so happy to see that, you know, what Wendy and the police department are doing for our elderly population. And I just really, I don't know who's there from the police department, but I really hope that you can, you know, get that message to Wendy and that team that it's just, I'm just so pleased and happy to see what they're doing for this liberal population that's kind of secluded right now. And the mayor and I, you know, we were brought to the attention the assisted living facilities that are struggling with COVID testing, and they're afraid of outbreaks that might happen. And, you know, so we were trying to come up with a plan on how to get testing into these facilities. And we've been working with Banner as well as Sunlight to try to come up with a plan so we're not the next city on the news where, you know, 17 people from one facility, you know, catch this virus. So we're working through that. But this is such, you know, population that, you know, I know for many of you that have people, you know, family in this, it's just a really stressful time
Mayor,
for them.
this is yours.
And I know
It's yours.
and I know Councilmember Herman brought this up because there was something that was brought up on funding and how they got the funding, and it was based on the census. And, you know, it's so critical. And you know, we, even though the city of Casa Grande is doing okay, you know, we are at a 59.5% response rate. That nationally it's at 61. You know, we only grew, gosh, Mayor, wasn't it like 0.2% over the last 2 weeks? So we're really slowing down. And, you know, of course, the committee is working, Latanya and our PIO is working. We have some new strategies on how to reach out to the community. And so I'm just really encouraging all of you that have family members, friends on your social media, if you can please put a push out how important this is and try to get that response rate up. So that's pretty much it for me, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And then, Mr. Powell, how about you next?
Lisa, where are you?
She's at home. She's with the dog.
She's
As you know, my dog, I wasn't really good on the muting. And you know, and I was going to mention in the report, and I didn't really know, but so I'm being responsible. I was exposed to someone that tested positive for COVID, and so I just wanted to be safe and make sure that I'm not around. I, thank goodness, have been trying to, or have been, using my mask and everything. So, you know, of course, when you never know when the time is going to come when someone you know catches this. And so I think it's important to remember to not let your guard down and to try to, you know, take responsibility, because we don't know when we're going to have something and pass it on to someone else. So, so that's where I am. I am just quarantining in my home. So that's, hopefully I will be fine in the next couple of weeks.
I've got 40 books I've read. If you want to use any of them, you can. Did you ever read that American Dirt?
I have one you gave me already.
Okay.
You are up.
I met with Holly. I don't know how many of you have met Holly at Main Street. And she wrote a deal that was in the paper, which she's spot on, is that there's really nothing in the downtown to bring people down there for. We need to do something to try to liven it up or do something to bring more people. So she, I'm the liaison, and she and I had lunch at the Cookie Jar, and God, we were there for an hour and a half, and they were trying to close. But anyway, we're gonna try to get Richard Rosales and her, and then Fernando and Richard to sit down and see what we can do. We would like to bring in some new business downtown. Suggestions were Circle K. You know how good they look nowadays? If we could, there's no gas. If you're in the downtown in that area, you got to drive about a mile to get to somewhere that has gas, except for that little place around the corner. And but if we could get a Circle K, and we talked about the a Walgreens downtown. And have something that would bring people in on a regular basis, because right now, people love to go downtown for, if there's something going on, if there's an activity, but beyond that, there just isn't, and there's not a reason that draws them on a regular basis. So we're hoping that we can come up with some suggestions, and microbrewery and a steakhouse were two of the others that had been suggested, and the IDA could probably work with us if we could find some buildings to do some of these things. And I know we're talking about looking at making that a really area with a lot of density and intensity, which is fine, but you can't get that unless, people aren't going to walk from down by the church where the property was downtown when there's really nothing downtown. So that's, I think hopefully we can visit and come up with some ideas about doing some recruiting and try to get some, I know prolific-wise, both Circle K and Walgreens have been very much so with putting new places around. So, but she had done what I do a lot. She went to almost every little town that she'd go to. She'd go downtown and look and see what. Williams, Arizona is a really, really good example of a downtown with a lot of of course, they've got the Grand Canyon just up the road from them on the railroad, so that does help a lot. But anyway, that's something I'm going to try to get with the powers that be, the marketing people, and see if we can do something.
All right, thank you, Mr. Powell.
You bet.
Mary?
I don't have a whole lot. I'm lucky I can work from home, so I've been doing that and doing conferences with my clients and that, so, and trying to be careful. Just want to thank our residents for being careful, for taking precautions, for wearing masks. It's rough. If I'm talking to a client and I've talked through that mask for like an hour, I feel like I am suffocating. But I know it's much appreciated by the people sitting across the desk from me, and just we're all protecting each other. And if we can look at it that way, hopefully it's a little bit better to swallow that pill to have to wear that mask. I also want to encourage when we had the total shutdown, there was just that movement to support our small businesses, to order that takeout, to do all of that. Let's not forget about doing that. Even though we're not a total shutdown, let's remember, get into those smaller businesses and that, and support them as much as possible.
Okay, Matt?
Thank you. I'm not going along with that because that would be illegal, but don't forget about the T-shirt program promoting downtown businesses. You can purchase your T-shirts at the Chamber of Commerce, the I Heart CG, and the Love It Casa Grande T-shirts. And they have a contest taking pictures at local landmarks, including a lot of places downtown. And you can win gift certificates and gift cards to local businesses. So check that out at the Chamber of Commerce. And also this Saturday is COVID testing at Sun Life, which you must register for. Starts at 7 a.m. and they're doing up to 200 tests according to the information I have. But you must register ahead of time, but it is free.
You don't have to be symptomatic.
Yep, anyone can do it.
But there's only 200.
Yes.
It'll go fast.
That's all I have.
Donna?
If you guys recall, we got a report from the library, the participation from the library, and I was really encouraged by the numbers of the people that started going back into the library. I was a little bit surprised at the folks that were not using the curbside, and so I really encourage our community to do that, even though that we've had to change the way we're doing things again. But not to forget that, the library is there for us. Also, I wanted to just thank the community services. I know that we had talked about not having the 4th of July celebration, and then it was back on, and, for them to jumped through the hoops to make that happen, even though it wasn't what we usually have. I appreciate that. I will say that I was disappointed by the number of emails and calls and conversations I had with a lot of our community members over the fireworks, and I grew up with fireworks, so it's not, a big deal to me, but what I do understand is that there were a lot of people that were concerned about the length of time that our city was seeing fireworks, like 4 and 5 days before the actual event. And people were concerned about that for the safety. I actually had one woman that said that she had to go, bring her mother home with her because, 3 days before the 4th of July, they were going off at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she thought it was gunfire. And so she finally just had to, bring her home with her for a couple of days. So I really encourage, we need to probably be very diplomatic in how we do this, but I think that we need to understand that there are people that have pets, there are people that have PTSD, there are elderly people, and we're continually seeing 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I've seen pictures of some of the streets in our community that were engaging in the fireworks that were probably over and above what we allow. I'm concerned about that enough that I received a lot of comments about that. So I bring that up because we do have to be respectful while we celebrate. The other thing is, thanks to the Casa Grande Dispatch, they did politics in the park, and they had to be creative because they had to cancel the in-person. But last week, all of the candidates were invited to come in and share some of their views and things. And so they did a creative way of letting the community know about candidates from all over the county, and I just want to thank them for that. And then lastly, all of us have received a lot of emails and calls about COVID, wearing the mask, whether it's people's constitutional rights or not. And I, like Mary, I don't like wearing the mask. I do it because I care about my family and the community. I want to publicly thank the people that have been respectful in those comments to us. I know the mayor, you have taken a lot of grief over it. For the people that have been negative, I've responded to every single one of them. But for those that have been constructive and respectful and gotten their opinions, I've heard them, and I think we all have heard them. But some things are out of our control, and we have to be responsible. And I would be remiss in saying I'd rather wear this mask, than to be in the hospital on a ventilator. And I think that we have to be respectful of the times that we're at. And I hope our community understands that we're doing the best that we can under very strict regulations. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. Bob?
Mayor, no report.
Okay. All right. Well,
I had a blowout on my mask.
just, I want to also kind of echo what Donna said in terms of thanking the public and thanking our community, because I think they really have rallied. I know when the proclamation first was put into place, it was a little bit sketchy. I know I got a lot of calls from people and emails, saying that people weren't following, the direction. But I was out this weekend a couple times, and I know when I was out, at least in one restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants, everybody had a mask on. Servers, people, coming in, leaving. When you sat down, obviously you could take your mask off because you have to eat. But it was very well followed. And even when I was in Fry's, it was probably 95% of everybody had a mask on. There's a couple people who don't, and some of them may have a medical reason for it, and that's okay. So we can't be critical of people who may not have a mask on because they may have a medical reason for not having it on. Again, if you're not familiar with any of the exemptions, like if you're under 6 years old, those types of things, if you have a medical issue, there are reasons and/or times and exceptions for those people. So I just want to make sure that's clear. If you're not familiar, it's online. You can go look at the press release. We put it out again last week, and we're gonna put another one out here probably tomorrow, just to remind everybody on some of the changes that the governor had put out last week. And just to give everybody just some data, I know you all get sick of me talking about this COVID-19 thing, and I do too. In 85122, we're up to 862 infections. That is, right now in the last 7 days, that represents about 16.3% of the total county's infection rate. So that's lower than our total population, so that's a good number. It's just a comparison. In the last 30 days, we were 18.8% of the county's infection rate, so which is above our population of the county. We're about 17% of the county. So the 30-day number is not good, but the 7-day number is better. So that means we're going hopefully in the right direction and not going to be in the majority of Pinal County's infections. So one of the other issues is that Pinal County is still increasing in terms of our rate of infections versus tests. The state is really out of control. It's about 12.7 and the county is about 9.8. So that means for every 100 tests, you've got 9.8 people testing positive. That's what that number means. So for the state, it's 12.7%. So it's 12.7 people per 100 tests. So just to keep that in mind, if you're ever interested, I send this out to you guys every once in a while. If you really don't want it, tell me you don't want it, and I won't send it to you. But I don't send it every day, and I work on it every day. Census 2020. It's already been talked about, but I wanted to mention it anyway. We continue to work on our water resource plan. We're moving forward. I was on a conference call today with the Sonoran Institute, and it looks like they're going to help us with about a $10,000 grant for some technical help that we're going to use to gather and put together conservation data and programs that we're going to put in our general plan. So hopefully we'll have that put together by September, October, with the help of Mr. Tice and the tech team and the advisory board. Those two boards will see some of this data that we're going to push forward. Also, just a reminder, the primary elections, the actual primary or the early ballot will go out this week. I think it goes out on Wednesday. So take a look and keep an eye out for it in your mail. And if you're running for office, your campaign financing is due by the 15th, just FYI. I did get a note also from Renee at the Chamber of Commerce. She reminded me that the PPP loan application has been extended. The feds passed a bill last week, very quietly, but extended the PPP application process until August 8th. So if you know a business that didn't apply, that may want to apply, please give them that information. Again, they can go online to the whole COVID-19.gov and look for that from a federal standpoint. This is it's a federal grant program. So we've talked about it before, but I just want to make sure that I mention that. And then I have one last thing, and that is I wanted to give you an update on the city sales tax revenues. So we've finished our fiscal year, and we have all the numbers in from the city's perspective, not state information, but from the city. And we finished the year at $26.4 million in sales tax collections. That's everything, construction tax, sales tax, everything that we collect. So we finished at 26.469, call it 26.5. And that's compared to last year's receipts of 24.7. So we actually finished higher than the year before. And what's interesting is if you look at March, April, and May, we are up every month over last year by almost $200,000 to $300,000 per month. And the month that we're down is when we let everybody loose, June. I think everybody went to Chandler.
I was going to say they left.
And it was down by about 300,000 compared to the year before. So that kind of shocked me. So I thought I'd share that with you. So that's all I have. If anybody has any other comments or questions, if not, then I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I just wanted to share with you, as we do this, that I blame the governor when they call me, so I don't blame, I said, don't get after the mayor.
Okay. Well, he's partly to blame, too. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I want to make sure you're still there, Lisa. All right, well, let's take a...
Still here.
Do we even have to take a break? Because everybody's gone.
We got those speakers outside.